August 28, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. You can look down at descriptions below to see where I thought I saw setups, as well as where I took my trades. There was no real piece of economic data that would move the markets today. Overall, you had to wait kind of toward a good 3-4 hours to see that everything was just kind of floating in this big consolidation range. So it turned out to be this very big trading range. Drew the pre-market lows here and the pre-market highs here. And there's a midline here, but as you can see, you could argue that there was some kind of reaction at the midline, either a bounce or a rejection. But I found out like pretty much by the end, probably around 9:30 Pacific Standard, that we were probably operating in this orange range. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this gray one. I just left it there just to remind myself that was originally what I thought the range was going to be in. So I'll go ahead and delete that for now. And this operating range was about from 44.24 to about 44.48, let's say. So it's about a 24-point range, which is pretty healthy. You can see there was good respect at the top, like 3-4 touches, and pretty good respect at the bottom, like 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess you could argue 5 if you count them together, but for the most part, it looked like it was just chopping around. So I'm going to go through the trades right now. I actually took 2 trades. Both of them were green, which is a nice change of pace because for the last, I guess, few trading days, I had no trades. And one of the days, I just couldn't even trade at all. And then in the previous few days, I also had a couple of losing trading days in a row. So that was kind of a little bit nice change of pace today. So here you can see the pre-market, things are just chopping around. It does kind of rally, and then it hits this top here. So I actually had the pre-market highs and lows here. So I actually drew the pre-market highs here, pre-market lows roughly there. And I'll go ahead and leave this for now, and I'll just kind of show where I thought things were happening. So on the open, things were kind of in this choppy consolidation range. You could argue there's a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but this isn't really any good, clean, safe setup in my opinion, so I left it alone. I also saw a potential channel going up here, and the first setup I saw was here. You get a first entry long right here, pulls back, second entry long. This got kind of moved. Now this setup is a good signal bar, but unfortunately it's below the EMA. And after this break of the shortened trend channel, it broke up and it made a new low. So you could argue that it made a new low, downtrend has played out, and might be ready for a bounce. I didn't have this yellow channel going up yet because in real time it looked like that. So you might have a potential suspicion that there's some kind of support here, but not anything I would definitely play a trade off of. So I saw this and I thought, okay, well, it is bouncing off the pre-market high right here from the other side, but it could also be a failed breakout. It can make one new push down, pulls up, and it could be on its way to make a second leg down. So I thought it's better to wait for a confirmation. You get a confirmation right here. Now I actually tried to take this trade. This is a pretty nice, so now it's kind of confirming the bottom of this channel, which is a support. And I saw a higher low, and I actually tried to take this trade because I saw it was one push up after this break. It made and completed a new low, so now it's making one push up, pulls back, and I like that it was bouncing off this potential lower part of the channel, also bouncing off the EMA. But when I saw this, I wasn't really ready to take it, but I did see a higher low potential. Of course, the next candle could sink even lower, and that would be the new higher low. So when this printed, I thought, okay, this is definitely a higher low. Prices might be coming back up. It is also bouncing off the EMA and the lower support of the ascending channel. But the problem is I don't like that this is an inside bar. So I kind of did try to take it, but I wasn't ready to take it here. And so when this flashed up, I actually tried to take it at this point, but I had to wait to not only for the prices on this candle to break above this one, I wanted to see it break above this guy. And when it finally did, I was conservative. I dropped my trade at the high of this candle, trying to give myself enough room. But when it flashed up, it never came back to pick me up. And this trade looked like it would have worked, but you would have to have been a little more aggressive and anticipate the move, which, from my experience level, I just didn't want to take that anticipated move yet. But I did have to wait. Then prices continue chopping, goes into this shortened trend channel coming down. EMA is flattening, so it looks like it's kind of hitting this consolidation range. Chops around, and I'm just wondering, Prices look like they might be falling into this new trading range. So this midline here, this dotted line and this top was what I was thinking might be an actual trading range at this point. So I did see, this downtrend. It breaks out, chops around, and actually take this entry. So I actually saw two big legs down, one leg down, push up. But on this push up, I actually made two legs up. So it's one leg down, first push up, pulls back, second push up, then a second leg down, and made a little bit it exceeded a measured move. And now it's coming back up. So I saw this as a higher low. When I saw this in real time, I like that. So it breaks out of this channel. I'm expecting it to test a new high here. So here, when it actually flashed up, it bounced around a little bit. So I actually put my entry one tick, well, actually just the entry right at the high. I was able to get filled, and I was thinking the EMA was probably not that important, but it was bouncing off the outside of this larger pre-market trading range. But at this point, I was suspecting that this outside trading range might not be that valid and might be something higher up here. So then I entered, I was able to get a quick scalp. Looks like I would have been able to get a little bit more, but I'm happy with my 1 point scalp. Prices come back down, and if I waited for too long or tried to scalp even more, I would have gotten stopped out. Falls into this consolidation trading range. I don't see any good clean entry yet. I'm just waiting this out. It looks like it starts to break out, and I draw this shortened trend channel going up. It comes up, and it looks like it's respecting the top here. So this is one touch. Depending on how you drew it, you could say there was, a small little fail breakout here, two touch, three touch, but I actually dragged it up and I liked it as one touch here, one touch up here. And at this point, this trading range, I wasn't 100% sure where it was, so I actually had it down closer to here. I treated this as an overshoot out here. Excuse me, fail breakout. Prices continue moving. I do see a failed second entry long, so it's a new high here. So I first entry long, pulls back, second entry long. Here, I'm reluctant to take a long because I know there's a little bit of resistance up here. So I knew there's a potential rejection and it could be a failed second entry long. However, this failed second entry long is setting up above the EMA. Even though the EMA is flattening, it is coming into play by pushing upwards. And for the most part, price action is respecting it in some regard. So it's getting squeezed between this potential resistance here and the EMA coming up here. So knowing all that, I just didn't really feel like there was a confirmed or good setup here. So I waited, flashed down. Now here you have it confirmed failed second entry long, and it closed right at the EMA. So right at the EMA and slightly lower. So actually prices here are a little congested. I think if I were to take this trade, it would have been, I guess, aggressive. And I wasn't really sure. So I said, to be super sure, I should wait for a lower high confirmation. Something will come back, and then prices would come back, but still close below the EMA to make me feel a little more confident. Unfortunately, the lower high doesn't show up. I mean, you could argue it shows up here, but by then it's too far from the trade to count it. Plus, you're potentially pushing to the bottom of this trading range that I suspect might be in play. Bounces up. It looks like you're respecting it. Now it comes back down and it's overshooting. So I'm not sure this trading range is valid anymore. I saw one leg down, pull up, second leg down. It didn't make the measured move. Technically, you have a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. But the second entry short, it's a good signal bar, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's far from the EMA. I didn't like that. Then it kind of pushes up. At this point, I thought, okay, there's some kind of resistance here. So I drew this red line, and then I just put arbitrarily at the bottom of this channel, this red line channel, kind of right here. The price is chopped, continue moving down. You do have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This isn't a very good signal bar on the second entry long. It's a good signal bar. Well, it's not a good signal bar unless you counted that this is a signal bar. So you could say, technically this is per the count, per the rules, the signal bar, but this one engulfed. So if you treated this as a signal bar, you could have put your trade one tick above this guy or just at high of this guy to step it back a little bit because there is enough room to scalp out. I saw that. I wasn't sure, and I kind of was a little more conservative. I wanted to make sure I got a cleaner setup. But here you can see it was one leg down, consolidates, and then makes a second leg down all the way to the tick. So that could be another reason to go long, but it wasn't enough reasons for me. Just, I wasn't too sure, so I had to let it go. I said, I'm going to wait for a higher low confirmation and technically get a higher low here, but it kind of feels a little bit because when the higher low is confirmed and it closed up here, now you're or I'm worried that I'm pushing against this resistance. So I'm surely not going to think of going long here off this potential higher low. Plus, off this candle, I'm not sure if the next candle is actually going to drop again to make, if it breaks below here, then it's no longer a higher low. And so here, you don't know what's going to happen. At least I don't. And I treated more respect this as a potential resistance as well as the EMA coming down. So I, didn't take any trades, or I didn't try to take a setup. Then prices continue moving, falls, and it looks like it's falling into this consolidation trading range. I'm not liking anything I see. I do see a failed breakout here. It comes back out, and I'm thinking there might be a symmetric failed breakout here, but it kind of chops around. It falls, and it just kind of looks like it's falling into a new trading range. It kind of goes up. I do see a failed second entry short, new low here. First entry short, second entry short. Technically, the second entry short hasn't, excuse me, the second entry short hasn't failed yet. It will fail if the next candle closes above here, and ideally above the low of this guy. So here, now you have a confirmed second entry short that has failed. So it went first entry short, second entry short, failed. But depending on how aggressive you were, I waited for this candle to close, and I knew for sure now to fail second entry short. But to go long, if I wanted to go long, I feel like I'm already pressing toward the top of this consolidation area. Then I either have to put my trade all the way down here and hope it comes back for me. But I just didn't feel like it was a nice setup. Ideally, this green candle would have closed, let's say, down here. So it gives you more room to try to scalp out before it hits this localized top. And it looks like if you did put your entry here, coincidentally, it would have flashed, picked you up, and probably given you your quick 1 point scalp. And then prices continue moving, drops around. I do see a new high, first entry long, second entry long. This is a second entry long. This is a pretty decent signal bar. It is doji. So I saw this, but I wasn't 100% sure, and I just kind of decided to leave it alone. And it happened pretty quickly, and it flashed up. And I saw also a second entry long here. So it's a new high. So actually, let me just copy this for my own notes. The new high, first entry long, pulls back, second entry long. Inside, it is a good signal bar, and it kind of went up. And then you would have a lower high, excuse me, a higher low here, but it is pressing against the micro double top here. So I wasn't sure, so I left it. Then you do have a new second entry long here, potentially setting up. Here you got to confirm second entry long. Unfortunately, by the time this candle closes, it's already too far. The move has been made, so you had to let it go, which is what I did. Prices then continue going up. It falls into this trading range, excuse me, this channel, has an overshoot here, struggles, makes a symmetric overshoot on the other side. So I'm wondering if it's going to try to test the high here, or is it going to correct now? Looks like it comes to the EMA, flashes through, struggles, looks like it moves itself back up. And I actually saw a higher low and a failed second entry short failure. So I saw this, pulls down, technically a first entry long, second entry long, third entry long, but I saw it as one move down. And then I also saw a first entry short, pulls back, and this is setting up right ready for a second entry short. And so you have a second entry short, and right here, it makes a double top. So it looks like it's ready to fail. So I thought this was a possible trade, but while this is unfolding, I wasn't mentally prepared. So I saw one leg down, and at this time, I'm thinking this is a break of this channel up. It probably wants to test this high. But I also saw this channel down, and it was a break here, so it probably wants to test this low here. So the way I saw it is the momentum up is stronger than the push down, because yes, it came down. It looks like it pushed, tested once, failed, came back, tried a second time, and now on the next candle, if it pushes and breaks above this micro double top, then it's probably going to try to test the high here. So I also saw a higher low here because I saw in a big move, first entry long pulls back, a second entry long setting up here, or potentially a higher low. So here, if I take an entry, I would have put it one tick above. It looks like it would have gotten filled. And here, it's debatable depending on if I was going for exactly 1 point. I probably would have gotten that 1 point, but it gets a little risky because my stop would have been down here, and I would have gotten stopped out. Even if I was more aggressive and I kept my stop one tick below here, this candle would have stopped me out. So this was an interesting setup, but it probably, if I took it, I'm not 100% sure if I would have gotten filled or if I would have gotten stopped out. So it's just something I wanted to note for myself. Prices continue moving. I draw this channel coming down. And I thought it's kind of fitting nicely. It had one leg up, push one big leg down, two attempts to go up higher, then one more leg down, and made the measure move and exceeded it. So at this point, I'm abandoning the idea of this being a trading range in play, and I actually extended this one down. Actually extended it much earlier, down to about right here when it made a double bottom here. So I was actually playing this larger trading range at this point. And let's see. Okay. Then prices are breaking through. It falls into this short trend channel coming down, has an overshoot. It consolidates here. It looks like it's respecting the bottom here, which is great because this is where I'm thinking there's a trading range because it has one touch, two touch, three touch. And on the bottom, there's really no good start here, but you do have one touch, two touch, and then the three touch, or you could count this as one, two, and there's a third confirmation, at least a third confirmation. Prices are chopping, kind of goes back. I do have a new low here, first entry short, second entry short failure, but I don't like any clean setup here. It looks a little congested. Prices continue chopping. It looks like it falls into this trading range. I also saw a new high here, first entry long, potentially a second entry long. Now, I was keeping an eye and looking for a reason to go long because I also saw this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This second entry short technically hasn't failed yet, so I didn't mark it as a failed second entry short, but I'm looking for a reason to go long because I see kind of a potential bottoming of price action. So I'm looking for a reason to go long. I'm thinking this could be a failed second entry short and a potential second entry long. So it all determines on what happens in this next candle. Next candle flashes up, and I'm thinking, okay, if I were to take this trade, it would be buying at the top of this range, which is risky. I want to see what happens. I saw what happened. The candle flashed up, closes very bullish. Now, nothing says it couldn't be a failed breakout and come screaming back down. So unfortunately, the way it's set up, even though it closed, above and outside the trading range, I felt like the trade, because I wasn't aggressive, which is okay, was already made. So I had to kind of let it go and see how it played out. Looks like it would have played out nicely, and it comes back down. I do see this second entry long, and I take it. So I see a new high here, first entry long, pulls back, creates a second entry long here. So actually, this is the signal bar. I jumped the gun slightly early. The reason I liked this trade at the time, but in hindsight, I think it was definitely risky. But the real-time thinking I was thinking is, okay, it broke out of this consolidation. It looks like it's going from the high, well, from the lows, it went to the highs, chopped around, touched it, came back down, touched the bottom, bounced twice, came back up, came all the way back down, and I'm thinking the next move is it's going to go back up to here. So I'm looking for a reason, as I said, to go long. I didn't find one here. I think I found one here. I saw first entry long, second entry long. This is a terrible signal bar in hindsight. It should have came down and at least touched the EMA and closed with a little bit of meat. But I entered on this candle one tick above, and I actually kept my stop not one tick below here, but one tick below this double bottom, because I thought this double bottom plus this trading range, there's some kind of support here. It is a little more riskier, I will agree. And so it kind of chops around, it flashes, and it lets me get out of the trade. So I was thinking, okay, I just want that 1 point. It looks like it chopped around. I would have gotten more points if I held on, but I'm okay with just that quick trade. Well, it wasn't really a quick trade. Actually, there was a little bit of waiting because you can see it's 11:46 Pacific Standard, and I finally got out at around 11:54. So you can see between here and here is only 5 candles, but you had to wait almost 10 whole minutes. And prices continue moving. I don't see a good entry. I do see first entry long, second entry long, but there's no clean setup. Prices continue moving. I do see a failed second entry short because it's a new low. First entry short, second entry short right here. And here, I'm thinking the second entry short is about to fail because it broke up above. Now, if the next candle flashes below this double bottom and through the EMA, then technically on the count, you have first entry short, you have a second entry short that you could argue is a trap because you would think people thinking it was a failed second entry short would get trapped on going long, and then next candle could flash down. So you could decide that you want to take a short, or you could decide that you want to take a long if you're aggressive. But with conflicting data, I'm not really sure what's happening. So I thought it's best to just sit on my hands. I suspect a failed second entry short coming up. It looks like it plays out, flashes up. It goes into this tight trading range or channel. Now I'm very curious because I see one touch, two touch, three touch. Is this going to actually pull back in? It's really far from the EMA. This move looked like it's like pretty much just straight up. There's going to be some exhaustion and probably push back down, but I'm not willing to take a trade like that. So it does happen though. So it gives you more confidence that this is the top of the trading range. Flashes down. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe there'll be a higher low, excuse me, a lower high. So actually it flows down. You get a lower high right here, but and it's breaking through the EMA. I didn't really like the setup yet, just because it feels a little bit far from this move. If it happened a little bit closer and the setup was a little bit cleaner, I do like that it's right at the EMA and it closed below, but it felt a little risky. So I was looking for a lower high and I found it, but I also, if this candle had closed more bearish, then I would have felt more confident, but it looked like there was still some fight by the buyers and then it lost and the sellers took over. And I kind of chopped around. So here, it would have been hard for me to take a trade either one tick below or one tick here. And as you can see, most likely I would have gotten stopped out probably by this candle. Prices continue chopping. It kind of goes into the close. Plus, it wasn't far from my mind like the time of day. This is like really late in the day to try to take any trades. And even in the last 10 minutes, this is where it's 12:50 Pacific Standard, and this is where the close of the regular trading hours. Typically, there's a lot of price action that happens in the last 10 minutes, but today was noticeably slower. This is the entire price action for the entire day. It was candles were taking a little bit longer than normal to close. And so it was in this tight trading range. So I had to, as this was unfolding right around, I think around 10 o'clock, after about 3.5 hours of watching candles, I figured that, okay, price action is really slow today. I have to be very careful. That's why I think this one was a little bit more risky to take this trade over here, my second trade. But overall, it was, I would say price action wasn't difficult per se, but it was slow. So it took a long time for things to kind of unfold. And unless you got in on these big swings, you did have kind of some tough opportunities, I thought, or entries that I would think were so-so, not super high probability. But I think as the kind of as August is closing out, things should pick up because the summertime is usually when trading is a lot slower. Everybody's on vacation. So things should be picking up. And I think this might be the first of hopefully many days that price action gets a little bit nicer. So hopefully that was helpful.